Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. Today, I'm here with Daniel Aprea. How you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing great. Hi, everyone. Hi, Simone. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, so we connected on LinkedIn. We decided to connect and we had a chat. We said, we got to meet up to talk business, to play table tennis, and to do this interview. So this is the first step. I'm looking forward to playing table tennis that next week we're meeting.
Yeah.
Or next week. So I'm looking forward to this. So this can be like a round one. This is
The
round
warm
one.
up
This is the warm up. We might do a Facebook Live or some like of the
or the
table
trash talk.
tennis.
The trash talk before the match.
Exactly. So now we're going to talk about the three T's of running a successful business, in particular to free up your time. And now let's, before we go into that, tell us a bit more about you. What's your background and how you got to this point?
Sure. To make a very, very long story short, I grew up in a family in 19. No, I'll make it short. I'll make it short. And I grew up in a family where everyone in my family had a master's degree. My grandmother, like everyone had a master's degree. And I soon realized that I didn't really want to pursue the normal career and have a 9 to 5 job and stuff like that. But my family kind of had a different idea. So one day they look at me and they started talking to me and they said, you know what, Daniel, the only thing we care about for you in life is that you're happy. And that's it. That's it. Just that you're happy. You know, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you are. We only want one thing, that you're happy. So feel free to make your own choices and choose the path that you want. Choose the right university for you and just be whoever you want to be, as long as it's either a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. That's it.
So absolute freedom, right? You had choice. You had three choices.
Yeah. And to be fair, I didn't dislike the idea of getting a master's degree myself. So what I did, I said, okay, let's go for engineering. And I became an engineering manager. Now, the funny thing is, I soon realized the engineering management was about optimizing things. Whatever you get, a process, a machine. And the funny thing is, what I ended up doing later on was exactly the same thing, but with humans. So I finished that and I said, instead of helping robots getting the most, instead of helping machines, why don't I help humans get the most of what they have? So when I finished my university, I never really looked for a job as an engineer, and I decided to get formal training in life coaching, neurolinguistic programming, and the likes. And I started my life coaching practice. So this is how I started my journey in the coaching industry. That's over 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And as many people have realized, one of the main reasons I wanted to be a coach, yes, of course, I wanted to help others and give my gift. But at the same time, I wanted to be free. I wanted to be completely free, have no boss, be able to do what I wanted, whatever I wanted, without working 9 to 5, travel and stuff like that. And very, very soon, I realized that it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy. I ended up, instead of working 9 to 5, I was working 24/7. I had no boss, but the few clients I had ended up becoming my bosses, and I wasn't able to travel. And meanwhile, my friends, they were pursuing career in engineering, they had annual leave so they could travel, they were making more money and so on. So that's what I realized, all right, I've got to take the business side of it seriously. It's not only about passion, it's about making your passion work and freeing up your schedule. So what I did, I transitioned smoothly from life coaching into more of a business coaching practice. And that's in a nutshell how I ended up here. So I figured out a system to maximize the output while minimize the input as well. And I started sharing it with others. And right now I can say I help a lot of experts, coaches, speakers, entrepreneurs not only achieve more in the business, but also making the business really a lifestyle business where they can have the freedom that they truly want.
Oh man, that's brilliant. So I have a question for you, which is when you decided to now not like finish your university, but not go to the traditional career that you set out for yourself. What was the reaction of your family? Were they supportive? Were they like, "Oh my God, Daniel, what are you doing? Are you crazy? No, we're not going to talk to you anymore now." So, how was the reaction of your family there?
Very supportive, I have to say. So what we did was kind of made an agreement, and we said, okay, I am going to finish my studies. So I am going to get a master's degree, and I am going to get honors because it was one of the conditions. But just to give an example, the master's was in 2 years, and I said, you know what, I'm going to complete that in 1 year. I'm still going to get honors, but I'm going to do everything in 1 year just to save time. And they trusted me, and eventually worked out. And having masters for them meant, okay, if this life coaching thing doesn't work, he can always go back and use his degree somehow. So they were kind of happy in that way. But ultimately, every year I was like, hey, I'll do a little bit more of this, more of this, more of this, and then I never go back to engineering. So
How long did it take you to get your life coaching business actually to work? Because I remember, like, for me, it took about I think it was the first 3 years, because I didn't know anything about business. So literally the first 3 years was just about literally figuring out how to coach, how to run a business. And then after the 3 years, I started making some nice money. But before it wasn't. So how about you? Was it like straight out of the gate, or did you have to wait
no way.
some year?
No way, no way. It took so much trial and error. And I would say at least the first 5 years were not really successful. It was just barely just being able to get through the next month or the next week. And then at some point, a few things started to click. And I learned everything the hard way by myself. With hindsight, I would say there were probably better ways to learn, a lot of faster ways to learn. And especially right now, there's so many tools around and experienced people that can share the experience as well. So if I was to do everything again right now, I would definitely choose a faster way. But what I did, yes, I would say about 5 years to get to a decent position, and then it's still been a journey, and I consider that to be a never-ending journey. So I will never have that feeling that I've reached it.
Sure. And how was your family in that period? Did they ever told you, like, oh, why don't you, like, they might have seen you for 5 years. Were you just lying to them and say, no, everything is going fine, I'm rocking it? Because that's what I did. Or did they say, oh, why don't you go and get a job? Or did they encourage you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't lying to them. The ability of doing what I did was also because I had their support, especially their approval. So they knew that eventually that was what was going to make me happy. So they were happy. They were happy with that. They were not trying to dissuade me too much. So
I was asking this question because there are a lot of people, in particular, that are in the moment of transition, and it's like it's a very delicate moment, because that's a moment where you're full of fears, hopes, dreams. You are doing these things, and you kind of really figure out how it works, and you're learning every day. But at the same time, if you have a toxic environment around you, or people that are not supportive, is one of the biggest reasons why people go back on, don't keep following their dreams, or don't have the stamina to keep going and figuring out solutions to find a way, just because everyone's around them is like, oh, why don't you go back into your job? That's the easy path. That's easier. You can make an application, you can have some money and just live a normal life.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of dreams are broken. So that's why I wanted to hear mainly from you, and for everyone who's listening.
Yeah.
It's about
if I may add,
yeah, please go on.
Regarding the influence of the environment, is something I've realized. It actually can go either way, but there's a subtle difference that makes all the difference. So there's two things that actually influence us when it comes to being in a certain environment. And one thing is absorbing the belief of what other people believe possible. But the other thing is to absorb beliefs of what other people consider valuable. And they're two very different influences. So when it comes to other people believing something possible or not, if your mindset is 100% congruent, you're almost immune to that. Mm-hmm. Think about learning a new language or already mastering a new language. If you're learning a new language, you don't want to speak with non-native speakers because your level will go down. But if you're already fluent in a language, you can speak with non-native speakers. It doesn't matter. You will now become worse at the language. So when it comes to what people believe possible, if you really master that, the environment is not going to affect you that much. But when it comes to what people consider valuable, that's a big one. Because even if you achieve what you want to achieve, if no one cares, that's much tougher. So in my case, probably my parents or people around me in general, my friends and everyone, didn't consider possible to achieve success through coaching, but they would still consider it valuable once I would eventually achieve success. So
Right.
that's an important distinction, I think.
Thank you very much for clarifying. And everyone is listening right now, guys. If you are listening, you're going through this transition, you're going through this period. Make sure that you are surrounded by the right people, because it is probably about 90% of your success. So make sure that you are surrounded by the right environment, by the right people, and stay away from the people that they just give opinion without having a clue about what they're talking about or having a real experience. But now we went into this digression. I want now to talk about freedom and how do we free up our time, because yes, I can definitely relate with your story. Probably a lot of people here that are listening can relate with your story, having this dream of, I'm gonna start my coaching business so I can have the freedom of travel the world. And actually, the only thing you're doing is sitting in the same room in front of the same screen, and your laptop becomes your best friend at some point. So, you mentioned that you have three T's. These are what you work with your clients, what you teach. Let's walk through these three T's, and then we're going to go deeper in how do we use them to create freedom.
Absolutely. So the three T's to total freedom, as I like to call them, are team, tech, and talk. And I like the sound of it as well. It's all four-letter words, and they ultimately give you free time as well, which is another four-letter word starting with T. So everything makes sense. And the reason a lot of people don't really find it easy to move forward and get stuck at some point is because they don't really plan for that in advance. Now, I do recommend people, don't get me wrong, I do recommend people when they start not to worry about doing only things that are scalable, because some people outside, maybe some big coaches, entrepreneurs, they say everything should be scalable, scalable, scalable. Of course, scalability is important, but when you're starting, you don't want to focus only on what's scalable, because that's going to slow down your progress. I always mention Airbnb as an example. Airbnb marketplace model, the most scalable model in the world right now. However, when they started, they were knocking people doors to doors. That's what they were doing. And maybe right now that's what you're doing. Maybe instead of using Facebook ads, if you literally just started, maybe you're going out and networking and using your own time, which is okay, as long as you have a plan to scale later on. So it's not about at any given moment to do things that are scalable, but it's about planning not just the client acquisition, but the product delivery as well, in a way that you will eventually achieve freedom. If you don't do it in the beginning, you can still adjust later on, but it's going to take a little bit longer, because you'll find yourself working in your business rather than on your business, and then it takes a strong mindset to actually take a step back and rearrange your operations.
Absolutely, and so it's about having that. And I agree with you when you're talking about the doing the non-scalable first, because once you are not once you're talking to people, that's how actually your business will take shape. You will get their insights, you will get their ideas. You actually learn how to run the business, and you are looking at all the different components. But then you cannot do this forever, otherwise you're just, again, gotta get caught up in the doing. So let's talk about the first T, team. Go for it.
Yeah, so the most important thing, when you see that you're already achieving certain level of success, so you don't want to do that before you have any form of validation. If your product is currently not selling, there's no point in hiring a huge team and so on. By the way, it's one of the mistakes I did in the beginning. I hired a huge SEO team in India, which was the cool thing to do back then.
To rank #1 in Google.
So if people are not buying from you, they won't buy from you because you have a team. That's an important thing to understand. But if you start getting some traction because what you're doing is really solving someone else's problem, then you want to start surround yourself with the right people that are working with you and for you in order to increase your leverage as well. And it's important to do that the right way. Some people, first of all, are afraid to delegate. And when people are afraid to delegate, what's going to happen is that the progress is going to be very, very slow. However, the fact that people are afraid to delegate makes sense because someone else might not do the same task to the same level of standard that you do it. So how do you solve that problem? And that's where we use a simple matrix to help people understand when and how they should hire someone and what kind of relationship they want to have with the people they're hiring as well. Now, when I say hiring, it could be full-time employees, it could be freelancers. It really depends on the nature of the actual task. But before you even decide who you want to hire, you want to focus on this. So first of all, divide all the tasks into two different categories that are what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Mm-hmm. And then there's a further split that is what I want to do and what I don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, you'll have 4 different categories of things. And it's very obvious that if you're good at something and you want to do it, then just keep doing that until really time is limiting you. As long as you love doing it and you're good at it, just keep doing that for the time being. And then you have a look at what you love doing, but you're not good at. And what you love doing, but you're not good at, here it's a matter of urgency. How soon do you need that done? If you need that done quickly, you might want to hire someone short term and meanwhile learn from them or from other sources how to do that so that ultimately you can be the person doing it if you really love doing that. Or if you don't need that done very quickly, you can get training. So it's very important to get constantly more training, whatever you're doing. So if you realize there's one thing that I like, say, I'll just give an example just to fit the ideas. Public speaking. So a lot of experts are very good on a one-on-one basis. Maybe they're not very good at speaking in public. But most of the times, in my experience, it's something they actually want to do. Yeah, they might be scared. Yeah, they might have some limiting beliefs about that. But ultimately, it's what they want to do. So get training in public speaking. You don't need to hire people that speak on your behalf, unless you really have an event tomorrow and have no time to get the skills. So that's a strategy that you want to follow for things that you want to do yourself, but you're currently not good at yet. Mm-hmm. And another category is things that you are not good at and you also don't want to do. So if you're not good at something and you don't want to do that, you definitely want to outsource that, but you want to outsource to someone that already has all the skills to perform the task. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that you get someone with the decent level of experience, and sometimes you may find cheaper options. Sometimes you might love the idea of hiring people that are more inexperienced, but in this particular case, you absolutely need their expertise because you're not good at that. So
you cannot really teach them. You don't have you cannot really raise and train someone.
Exactly. If you're not good at that, you're not going to be a good teacher. Some people think, okay, I'm not good at it. I can still teach someone else and let do it. No, just get someone that already knows how to do that. An example could be sales calls. Now, if you do want to learn how to do sales calls, that's great. Then it's part of the things that you want to do, and you'll learn how to do sales calls. But if you don't want to do sales calls, don't think that you can just maybe take a crash course and then teach someone else. And no, just get someone that already knows what he's doing, and ultimately it will work out a lot better. And the last category is things that you are good at, but still you don't want to do them. Mm-hmm. So if you're good at something, but for some reason, maybe for lifestyle reasons, say, for example, one-on-one initial strategy session, you might be very good at that, but maybe you don't want to do that because you want to have free time. You don't want to be maybe 8 to 10 hours on the phone just for strategy sessions. Very possible, very common situation among the people I work with. So, okay, you're very good at because it's your expertise and you've done it successfully for a while, but you still want to teach someone else. And that's where you want to hire, not so much for skill, but for potential. Yeah, that's the main difference. So if you think about that, I'm good at this. I can really teach someone else to do that. I can have them shadow me for a while. I can create a blueprint. I can create myself a script for them and so on. So that's how you hire in a different way. You don't look at the current level of ability of the person you're considering hiring, but you look at the potential that they have, especially the long-term potential and even commitment they can have with you for a long-term collaboration.
That's my perfect sense what you said. And so you mentioned something which is like sales call. And there is this debate of, spending time learning some skills that are necessary for your business, and also delegating and outsourcing on hiring other people. Now, there are some skills personally where I believe that, and that's what I would love also to hear your view on that, but there are some skills that, for example, like selling, I would encourage every entrepreneur, for example, to learn and master selling. Doesn't matter what, because then, if you don't know how to sell, your business is always going to be in the hands of someone else. And let's say that the person now leaves the company. what's that going to do? If the company just depends on that person, in particular for a small business, then your entire business is at risk. So what's your view on that? Let's say someone is not good at selling, and they don't like it. So it's not good and they don't like it. Is it worth just going through the pain to master that skill because it's so important for the business, or just outsourcing it?
Look, when it comes to selling, it's one of the skills that are very, very dear to my heart. It's probably the one skill that changed completely the way I do business. And I would encourage everyone even to think that the real value is generated not so much when you deliver the product, but when you actually sell it. If you're in this industry to change lives, you really change people's lives when they buy something from you, because that's the moment when they commit. That's the moment when they make the decision, I'm going to achieve this in my life. Yeah. Then the product delivery is a way for you to back up the promise that you made when you sold something. But the real change happens when you're selling. So if you're serious about changing people's lives, I definitely recommend you get sales skills. Now, is selling completely scalable? Not if you don't have a team. So maybe you may want to concentrate on closing strategy sessions and maybe hire someone else for cold calls. That's an example. You may want to do the opposite. I mean, you never know, depending on what exactly you want to focus on. But you definitely need sales skills. And yes, you also definitely need a team at some point. Maybe not just yet, but at some point you'll need a team. And remember, the team can cover some aspects of that. Maybe they will cover pre-sales rather than actual sales, or maybe you'll have closers to help you. So maybe you'll do the session and have someone else step in and close for you. Yes, I do recommend you're able to close, but those are the options that are available.
That's a very good point. It's looking at exactly. I love this. It's looking at the entire sales spectrum, the entire different parts of the sales process, and then see which one do you want to master, which one do you want to get involved with, which one do you want to outsource. Very, very good point. Okay, so that's the first T. All right, so it's team. Now let's move to the second T, which is tech.
Yes, the role of technology is absolutely crucial today. And I always see people do manually a lot of things that they really don't need to do manually. And it's funny to hear how these people feel very busy. They actually feel, which is very dangerous, by the way, they feel that they're moving forward. They feel they're making some progress just because they are actually going to the right direction. But if they're doing manually something they shouldn't be doing manually, they're actually moving too slow, and that's counterproductive. One of the reasons people don't realize that, it's because nowadays the concept of being busy is somehow glorified. For some reason, people kind of challenge each other and fight of who's the most busy here. Like, oh, shall we meet tomorrow? No, tomorrow I'm busy. Let's meet the other day. Oh, the other day I'm busy. I'm more busy than you are. No, I'm busier. And somehow they feel important because they're busy. But when I see someone who's busy, like we all have 24 hours a day. We all have 24 hours a day. It's all about what we do with the time. So if there's any activity you're currently doing right now that could be automated, just consider how you can do that. And that boils down to time management. It boils down to having the right tools. So just to give an example, I very often work with people that still take all the registrations manually, and then they manually move the database from one place to another, and they send the emails with the software that does not communicate with the software that sends SMSs. And that software that sends SMSs does not communicate with the CRM, and so on. So if there's no communication, imagine softwares as actual team members. The same principles apply. Every software you're using is one of your team members. So if they don't communicate with each other, you're losing a lot of potential, and you don't want to miss out on that. So very, very important, understand what pieces of technologies you actually need and put them in place, make sure they communicate with each other in order for you to really be able to focus on what matters. That is decision-making and delivering the core product in your business.
Is there any particular technology that for you, or software that for you is a go-to software? Of course, a different business will have different needs, so softwares will change. But if you have like one piece of software that you say, I rely on this, I know this, it works, what is that for you?
Yeah, if I have to mention one, I wholeheartedly recommend a software called Zapier. I'm in no way affiliated with them, but it's an amazing software. It's called Zapier. And it's a way to really get every other software you're using interact with each other so that you don't have to do anything. It will free up the entire schedule that you have. So as soon as there's one trigger, say, for example, you're running an advertising campaign, there's one trigger. One person signs up. All of a sudden, by using Zapier, every other software you're using in turn will take an action so that eventually everything will be done. This person will get an SMS, will get an email, they will be put in the right database, and a lot more things can happen. There's literally no limits to what you can do. And the good thing about that is it takes some time to set it up once, and that's it. It's one of those things that is literally set up and forget. So the more you wait to set it up, the more time you're literally wasting. And it doesn't matter that in that time you're actually moving closer to your goal, you're moving too slowly. You could be moving so much faster. So think about that. If you are using, say, for example, a motorbike, and you could take an airplane, the more you use the motorbike, the more you're missing out on the potential on the airplane. So it's very important. I know it takes a strong mindset to stop for a moment, stop working in your business so much and say, okay, let's plan, let's make that happen. But it's really just set up and forget. So that's definitely something that everyone should consider.
Exactly. Or if you probably don't want to do it, you can, again, going back to the team, can hire someone which is a specialist on Zapier and do that for you and set up the integrations that you want. There are plenty of people that can do that. It's a software I use so much. Highly recommend as well. Very, very powerful. Now, still staying on the T of tech, what do you suggest if someone is a technophobe? You know, sometimes I'm sure you've worked with clients, and I work with clients that are like, oh my God, no, I cannot really, like, as soon as I see a piece of software, I can just, like, my minds get fuzzy, I can have migraines, my head is spinning, I don't really understand what I'm doing, I don't understand where to click or what to do. So what do you suggest in that scenario?
Well, in general, first of all, whenever there's a skill that I don't have, I personally take that as a self-development challenge. So think about that. We all in the self-development industry want to change people's lives. We help people learn faster and change faster. So really, if there's something you're completely close to, couldn't that be a great opportunity to really work on yourself? And what you learn, maybe you won't necessarily be the person actually doing the job for say forever or even for a while in your company. But isn't that a great opportunity to learn something new? And what you learn there maybe can be applied somewhere else too. So that's an opportunity. However, if you compare that with sales skills, for example, I would say if you hate sales and you hate tech, just learn sales.
So you can have the money to pay a tech person.
Exactly. So yes, remember, whenever you learn something new, it's not like a burden that now you have to do it just because you've learned it. So I do recommend you learn it also so that you can really stay independent in your business and understand if the person you've hired is performing well or not. Because if you have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, how do you know if that person is doing their job well? How do you know that? How do you actually, and then you can't rely on other people just to get a hiring manager just for that and a supervisor. It becomes messy. Having just a level of skill means that you're able to keep control in your business and stay in charge, because after all, it's your business. It's not someone else's business. Now, remember, you can learn it and never have to do it. Kind of the way I took an engineering degree and never used it. Learning something is not a sentence, not a life sentence.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, in particular when you said having the awareness of the different moving parts of your business, so you can actually, it's your business, you can be in control. And does it take longer? Yes. Is it going to be more painful? Yes, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, there are some things that will take you longer to learn than others. But at the same time, having the awareness on the understanding on how the basics of your business work, then when you're hiring someone, then suddenly you don't have what we call these hiring nightmares, where you're just hiring blind, because you don't have a clue about what's going to be done. So no matter what everyone says, even if they don't know what they're doing, it's going to sound good, because you don't know otherwise. But if you have that basic understanding on how it works, then you can say someone is actually knows what they're talking about, they're doing the right job, or they're just like full of crap there, and they're not going to actually to serve your business, but destroy it. So that's a really, really, really important piece.
And that can become very dangerous because maybe you don't even realize it. So if you think about that, just a little effort today will make you realize if some collaboration should end way before you might actually be doing this right now,
Oh yeah.
and that can become very, very costly. So yes.
All right. Let's move to the last T, talk.
Yeah, so the talk is crucial. If you think about that, the only way people know about you is through the message that you're sending out. So once again, you may have the right team, you may have the right tech, but if the message you're sending is not resonating with others, you're still doing the same effort, but you're not getting the same result. So it's really, really important that you have the right wording, the right way of communication in place. Now, when I say talk, I mostly refer to people that use platform speaking to actually get their message out there and maybe speak on stage, on webinars, whatever the platform could be. But at the same time, talk is also the copy that you have in your website. Talk is every piece of communication that gets out. And if the focus is not there, you will never be able to get the most with while at the same time minimizing the effort, and ultimately you won't be able to be free because you'll just be running a nice car with a very, very poor engine.
Yeah, absolutely. Any tips for like structuring the talk or things to be aware that needs to be in a talk? Because not all the talks have the similar structure. If you are running, for example, like I did a TEDx, the way you structure a TEDx talk is very different from the way you structure a sales a talk, which is designed to sell or to persuade or to get to know you. So, what are the elements that they needs to be in this particular talk?
Yeah, so right now we're thinking about very specific thing. How can I, by using the same amount of words or maybe stage time or maybe real estate on a web page, how can I double my results, triple, quintuple my results? So the most important thing, and I mean, we can go as deep as we want on this, but most important thing is remember it all starts from them. It all starts from the audience, what resonates with them. I know you have a gift. I know you have a big passion, big message, you want to share it, but it will only really impact others if it makes sense to them. In order for that to resonate, you want to start from the audience. Now, when you mention the talk is very different depending on the environment, depending on where you are. One of the reasons, there's two reasons. One reason is the purpose, but the other reason is a different audience. So before you go to a talk, the first thing you want to ask to the event organizer, let's say you're invited, for example, is, okay, tell me more about the audience. What kind of audience have you got? What resonates with them? What makes them stay awake at night? What is it that they really want to achieve? And understand that in terms of actual words. So even if some studies say the words are only 7% of the results of communication, that 7% is huge. So understand exactly what words they're using and see talk. So that's definitely one piece. But now the other piece is to understand how language works in general. So there's a lot of constructions that you can use in order to have a different impact when you speak. Now, some people are a little bit reluctant when it comes to quote unquote manipulating the language, but in reality, that's not a manipulation. That's simply a way to use patterns to favor communication. If you think about the words, how are you? Very, very simple. How are you? We say that every day. It's actually a language pattern. It's a language pattern that we use, and no one would think that it's a manipulation or it's unethical just because we do that all the time. But it is a language pattern that we use because we want to get a specific result. We want to know how the other people is. And the very same thing happens with sales. And especially if you're selling on stage, so during the talk, you want to understand word by word how you want to structure. And it doesn't have to be the entire talk word by word, but some parts of the talk, you really need to know exactly what words you're saying, and you want to practice that as well because the delivery in that particular case is crucial. So remember this, focus on the right wording and practice that, and that's how you're going to see results.
Absolutely. And in particular, when you're selling from the stage and you're creating something to persuade, as you mentioned, your language is really important, and practicing is really important because people are looking for a leader. That's what they're looking for. And so if you're not confident in delivering the call to action, or if you're not confident in and know exactly what you're going to say, and now you're just like thinking about, oh, what do I need to say next? Or you are uncomfortable because you haven't practiced enough as well. then people are going to sense that, and immediately there will be a barrier, because now they see that you are not comfortable and confident in your own services.
Yeah.
So that's why practice is so important. I remember I was practicing when I started selling from the stage. Literally, I was going like on the tube. I was practicing my talk. I was on the bus. I was practicing my talks. I was at home practicing my talk with my business partner. Up until then you arrive to a point where it actually becomes automatic, and you don't need to put as much work for every talk. But at the beginning, oh yeah, practice. Choose the right wording. So thank you very much for sharing. Now we are moving. We are towards the end of this interview. We are we are going to lift the veil. That's a part of lifting the veil. So, what is an app or a tool or a practice, something that you use in your personal life or for your business that made a good impact and is worth sharing? What is that for you?
Difficult choice. Difficult choice. I'm gonna go. Can it be a book?
That can be a book. Yep.
So there's a book that I read actually many years ago, and it made a huge impact in my life. And the book is called Evolutionary Psychology by David M. Buss. And it's not a book for everyone, really. It's mostly a book for his own university students. But if you read the book, I'm sure you can find it online as well. It really gives you a deep understanding of how the human brain works and what really makes people tick. And it's not a book that is super easy to read. It's still in English, but again, it's a scientific book, right? But it's really deep, and it really shows you how you can go as deep as you want with a person. There's always going to be another layer behind that. So that's something I would definitely recommend. Evolutionary Psychology. It's basically, for people that are not familiar with evolutionary psychology, it's a study of how during the Pleistocene, that is about 1.2 million years ago, the structure of a human brain, and with that, human emotions and psychology has been created. And that's extremely useful today, not only for things like influence and communication, but really also to deeply understand other people and what's moving them. Not the only tool out there, but definitely one that you want to use.
Oh, that's definitely. I haven't read that book, so I'm definitely gonna get it. I'm really interested into. Right now, I've been reading a lot about human psychology or human evolution, and so that's right up my alley. Thank you very much for sharing, guys. The link is in the show notes, so you can scroll down evolutionary psychology, and there is going to be the link on Amazon, so you can scroll down and get it there. Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here talking about the 3Ts. Super helpful, and also thank you very much for the book that you gave right now. If people want to reach out to you, want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
To get in touch with us, so we have our website, coachized.com. So there's a form there you can fill and reach out, and we'll be very, very happy to have a chat with you and understand exactly how we can add value to your business, or more in general, your life journey right now. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook. So Daniel Aprea, I'm there, and you'll be able to connect with me, whether it's the page or the personal profile. And in addition to that, I want to say, if you currently are a speaker, or if you're planning to start becoming a speaker and offering your services from stage, we do have a group that is called the 5-Day Platform Speaker Challenge. And we run challenges where we give a lot of free training, a lot of free information, and we offer great opportunities as well for people that want to become very, very good at closing sales from stage and grow their business through public speaking. So if that's you, the group is called 5-Day Platform Speaker Challenge. I believe there'll be a link below as well. So definitely request to join the group. I'll be happy to have you there.
Brilliant. All the links are in the show notes, so you can scroll down, get in touch with Daniel straight away, join the group, get the challenge, and grow your speaking business. Daniel, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you so much, Simone, for having me here. And thank you for everyone listening as well. And I'm really looking forward to our trash talk now.
Yeah, man. Like I'm looking forward to table tennis. Let's see who's gonna win. All right, see you, Daniel.